Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Connor Gray, and Connor, welcome to the show. We sure have a fun one today.
Yep, we sure do. We got the Eastern Conference Finals tonight, also Western Conference tomorrow. Started their game ones, and we also got second round of playoff hockey.
We do. It is going to be a fun time. I do want to get right into it if our setup will cooperate with us.
Probably not.
Of course it doesn't, but there we go. There
we go.
There it is. Twitch is working just fine. OBS, no. Gotta love it. But I do want to start with the NBA draft lottery tonight. Kind of some big stuff going on here. Obviously, starting at 7 o'clock, just an hour and a half away in Chicago. And the main story, as always with this, who is going to get the number one pick, which will more than likely be Chet Holmgren this year. And the battle really comes down to Houston, Orlando, and Detroit. They all have a 14% chance of getting that number one pick. Oklahoma City, of course, not too far behind with a 12.5 chance, and Indiana with the 10.5 chance. So I'm always really excited for this time of year because there's so many what-ifs and possibilities, and who knows what can happen. But It is an exciting time to be a Thunder fan. I know we've talked about the rebuild going on, but because of this little thing right here, this Clippers pick that goes to Oklahoma City this year. Obviously, the Clippers not making the playoffs, so the lottery pick goes to Oklahoma City. And there's that slight little 1.5% chance there.
It's still a chance.
It's the fact that you have a chance and you're guaranteed 3 picks. You have the 30th pick from Phoenix. You have probably the 12th pick from the Clippers. And then you're right there in the top 4. I mean, there have been doomsday scenarios for some people, heaven scenarios where Oklahoma City gets the number 1 and number 2 pick. I saw someone was mashing around on one of those little draft lottery simulators and it took them like 8 tries, and then they got Oklahoma City getting 1 and 2. Oh, boy. And they're like, hey, if that happens, we win. Which I will be excited to see.
Like that obviously, if that happens, basically it's like there's no way you mess up those first 2 picks and get the best players coming out of college. It's like that's just like that would just be amazing if that happened.
I mean, I don't know how we'd react to that if Oklahoma City got the number 1 and number 2 pick.
I'd probably lose my brain. I'd just be like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be a lot of Oklahoma City people absolutely loving it. The Lakers pick also needs to be mentioned in here as well because of that pick. I do not remember if it's protected or not, but I believe it's something with New Orleans because I believe that pick might actually go to New Orleans this year because of the Anthony Davis trade. So there will be a lot to look at. Obviously, there's no use predicting where a ping pong ball is going to fall. I mean, you're just gambling at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, sports gambling I can kind of understand, but this would literally be gambling if you're just like, put my money down on this ping pong ball.
Yeah.
It's like you might as well be putting it on red or black in Vegas. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
But I do want to get into actual basketball now, recapping some of the stuff from Thursday onward. Not a whole lot to recap as we get further and further into the offseason. I do want to go all the way back to Thursday. We do not have confirmation on this because he wasn't at this game. He was at Game 5. Andrew Santangelo, if you're wondering where Andrew has been the past few weeks, he's been busy doing a lot of stuff, whether it be for Northwestern, whether it be his own leisure. He was at Game 5 for Philadelphia, Miami, and he got double whammy. Not only did Miami win that game and beat his Sixers, but he got sick afterward. He came back. He has not been able to talk. He was trying to get on. We hoped he could come on tonight. So get well soon, Andrew. I know he will be missed, and we can't make fun of him for the Sixers losing. That we can't do either of those. But Jimmy Butler went off for 32. Joel Embiid had 20. James Harden shot the ball, 2 times in the second half of Game 6? It was absolutely pathetic by Philadelphia.
Phil, it's like you're not utilizing your shooters very well. And, I mean, Embiid having the most points is people kind of would expect that.
You'd expect.
But he only got 20. That means everyone else is either not getting the ball or they're shooting terrible.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like at the end of the game, you had Jimmy Butler like out hustling three guys who were just kind of waiting for the ball to fall into their hands at a rebound.
Yeah.
He'd run by, pick it up, get it. And then that leads me into the next game that was Thursday night. Dallas just giving obliteration to Phoenix, 113-86. Luka Doncic doing his thing, dropping 33. Ayton had 21 in that game, but that was more of a doubling Devin Booker. Chris Paul still couldn't do anything. Someone had to score, and they were able to just force it to Ayton a few times. But
I mean, it's like, but things like Ayton's the tallest guy on the floor. It's like you got to be giving that guy the ball every opportunity you can.
Yeah, I don't understand the whole. I mean, I understand.
Ayton could easily get 40.
I mean, he could. The way they had this entire situation built, Dallas started doubling Booker. You were putting Ayton one-on-one with somebody. I understand Maxi Kleber, Kleber's a good defensive guy. He's a lot better than you would think he is. He can get blocks and rebound and things like that. But Phoenix never really wanted to go to Ayton. That part I really didn't understand.
And it kind of makes me feel like either the Chris Paul and Booker don't feel comfortable giving him the ball, or they're too worried about, or it's set up where Ayton's just not supposed to get it, which I wouldn't really understand because Ayton's one of your big three, and Ayton's probably the best, besides Booker, is your better scorer.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, don't give him the ball, and look what happened. I mean, at least the game would be more competitive if he gets the ball. I'm not saying they'd win, but I mean, Dallas was on another level. There was no way they were going to get stopped.
Yeah. It was truly a sight to behold as a Mavs fan, as always. Anytime you get a win in the playoffs is a good day.
Yeah.
And then moving into what happened Friday, Boston, Milwaukee going back and forth. Celtics got a 108-95 win. Jason Tatum going off for 46. Giannis nearly having half of Milwaukee's points with 44, but still wasn't enough.
I know before we finally get to the Sunday matchups, it's like this series really showed they really needed Middleton.
Yes. I mean, they absolutely needed Middleton.
I'm not sure if that would have changed the outcome, but at least this game would have been more competitive.
I think it probably – I don't know if it would have changed Game 7, but I think it would have changed Game 6.
Yeah.
And then Memphis, Golden State able to pretty much go off in the final few minutes, seemingly finding their footing, getting a 110-96 win. Dylan Brooks was carrying the Grizzlies, which is a sentence I never thought I would say in my life. He had 30. Clay had 30. Game 6 Clay, everyone knows the whole meme behind that. And he showed up once again.
That's what you need from him.
Yeah, that's what you got to have. Moving into the Sunday games, finally, some of the most disappointing basketball, if you're a neutral fan, I think Game 7 at the Boston Garden, and the Celtics just start running over Milwaukee, 109-81. Grant Williams has 27 points, hit 7 threes.
Yeah. And
the Celtics, when you're able to get some of your bench guys or non-stars going, you're going to win.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Giannis just looked tired. Like, he was trying out there. He had 25, but, man, he was missing stuff he never misses.
I think obviously not having more help really kind of, especially when he's being asked to carry more of a load than he didn't have to last season.
Yeah.
I mean, I know PJ Tucker was a great defensive player and could help also score, but their team last year I think was overall better. But I know losing one player didn't take away how good they really were. But the issue is you didn't have Middleton.
Yeah,
Middleton was a big factor for why they really couldn't do anything. I don't think it would change the final outcome. Like if they still lost Game 6, I don't think it would change Game 7. But if they had him for Game 6, I think Milwaukee could have been able to take that one, maybe, just maybe. But then again, we won't know because obviously Middleton didn't play, and it ended up being how it was. And congrats to Boston for first time in a long time actually getting to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes, first time in a while for the Celtics, and I saw it today pretty much. The Heat-Celtics rivalry's back. It's back in a different way than you would expect. It's not the big three of Boston versus the big three of the Heat.
Yeah.
It's Jimmy Butler versus Jason Tatum.
Yep.
A matchup that I'm really excited to see how that'll work. We'll get into Game 1 tonight, a little bit of injury situation going on, but I have a promise to make. I did say if the Mavs won Game 7, I would bring out the Dallas hat. And so here I am with the hat, my nice Mavs hat that I got like 6 years ago, the or whenever last I went to a game in Dallas. So I finally get to put this thing on because Mavs in 7. Mavs absolutely in 7. Just beautiful. Just beautiful basketball. 123-90.
I mean, if you're Dallas, this was the best basketball you've. This is probably the best game you've played. If you're Phoenix, this was by far the most disappointing game. I mean, Cameron Johnson, a guy who comes off the bench, had more points than Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Chris Paul, Crowder, and it was like the fact that your starting lineup hardly even cracked 10 points. That just shows I think Phoenix just ran out of gas, which I don't think was necessarily the case. It looked like they didn't want to be there. Despite the fact that it was in their home and they're in Phoenix, they're ready for them to take Game 7. Instead, Dallas just comes out the gate swinging and just they put like over 20 points for Phoenix. Can even put like 6 points on the board. It seemed like
I really wondered how this game would go. I had been scared all day for this game because I was worried one of two things was going to happen. Either Dallas was going to come out super flat and this would be a monumental disaster for the Mavs, or if Dallas got out to a good start, when would Phoenix make their run? And the Mavs did what they did in Game 5. They came out the first 2-3 minutes, absolutely delivered a punch to the mouth. Phoenix looked lost, which is something we haven't seen in Phoenix. We'd seen it a lot in Dallas. We'd seen it in Games 3, 4, and 6. But the Mavs just continuously put pressure, and Jason Kidd made the simplest adjustment. Double-team Devin Booker. That man cannot handle a double team. I know it was a meme in the offseason where Devin Booker was playing like a pickup game, and then some guy decided he was going to double him with his friend, and Devin Booker couldn't figure it out in a pickup game. And it was just like, what is going on with this team? And then you add Chris Paul just straight up choking, just straight up, it was CP3 points for the good chunk of the game. It was absolutely terrible. DeAndre Ayton had 1 point for a while. Devin Booker had 2 points off free throws for a while.
It's mainly just the entire team not playing well.
No.
You could
they
say
absolutely blew
it's
it.
like saying CP3 choked is like, I know that's an old meme that goes with him in regards to the playoffs, but this was an entire team that just forgot how to play basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not blaming him and only him. This was a This was a Chris Paul choke. This was a Devin Booker choke. This was a
Phoenix Suns choke.
This was
the best team this season in regards to how they played in the regular season.
Yeah,
and they played well. They played the same level of good when all three of their big guys were hurt.
Yeah,
and the fact is that they did not show up to play. Like, there was promise that they were going to take the series at least within 5 or 6. Instead, they didn't want to. It felt like they just did not want to be in the playoffs anymore. They were like, please, hey Mavs, can you please beat us so we can go home?
Yeah, I mean, it really did feel like 1-2-3 Cancun out there. It was amazing to watch. The second the Mavs got up double digits, you could just kind of feel, okay, here comes the punch. Here comes Phoenix any moment now, guy. What do you mean they're still missing? What do you mean they're still missing? Dallas is running away with this. I have never seen
Dallas
team
put all their backups in.
Dallas just was able to just bury them with whoever's out there. Spencer Dinwiddie. Where's Spencer Dinwiddie been this entire playoff series? He shows up with 30. Jalen Brunson has a big game. Whoever the Mavs threw out there, it didn't matter. And keep in mind, Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock did not have good starts. They had horrible starts. They could not hit anything. It didn't matter. Luka was on a mission to just do whatever he wanted with this team. And it was some of the most beautiful basketball I've seen the Mavs play. I really cannot think of a better game I've ever seen Dallas play defensively in that first half. That is the greatest half of defense I've ever seen from a team.
Yep.
Just shutting everything down, applying so much pressure. Phoenix could do nothing, and that's really all that needs to be said about this. I mean, I could go on forever about, the intrinsics of it and everything, what exactly worked where. There were a few times where just I really don't know what Phoenix was doing, where they'd have an open man and they'd try to feed it inside where there's no reason to.
Guys didn't want to take open shots.
And then you get DeAndre Ayton gets benched in the third quarter, and he doesn't come back the rest of the game. Apparently, he had words with Monty Williams. They got into it. And then after the game, they didn't want to discuss it with anybody and said that was an internal issue. Chris Paul then said he had been battling an injury the entire series.
Which is not surprising.
Which, I mean, Pat Beverly of all people called on Twitter, like, right after the game. He's like, guarantee he's going to say he's had an injury. And people are like, dang, okay, that happened. That did happen.
If he was battling an injury, then...
That makes a bit more sense, but at the same time...
But I think it's like CP3 does have a tendency of getting hurt when it matters. So it's like, I'm not surprised he was battling an injury. I mean, if it was the case.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me either.
But even then, I don't think it would have mattered.
I don't think it would have mattered. These two games, I think, proved this is a special Dallas team. This really is. And I know I already saw people the second this, okay, Warriors in 5. All I'm going to say, now granted, I'm a Mavs fan, so I'm biased, but if you're a Warriors fan and you somehow find this live stream or find this on YouTube when we upload it, do not make the same mistake Phoenix did. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be that guy.
You give the Mavs any form of hope, they will take it.
You give
especially if they play, even if they play probably 3/4 or half as good as what they played. I mean, Luka's going to do good no matter what. But if the rest of his team even just has plays half as good as they did against Phoenix again, they're gonna eat Golden State up.
Yeah,
like. You can't have Curry and Clay forget how to shoot for 1 or 2 games because Mavs will take those games because you're guaranteeing them life. And I think Mavs are going to give Golden State a much bigger fight than what people think they're going to do.
See, if I'm a Mavs fan, I'm excited because I think Golden State is a good matchup for Dallas. I think the small ball of the Mavs will work well if they want to do it.
Size-wise, it matches up perfectly.
Yeah, size-wise, it works beautifully. Kevon Looney can be a rebounding problem at times for Dallas, and we'll get into this a little bit more when we talk about Game 1. But I am excited to see how that series plays out because you're either getting the Warriors back, and I mean, a very popular team. People love seeing them do well or seeing them do bad. Or you get Dallas in there, which just would blow my mind because I had no expectations of this. I was just happy to win a second-round game. And now we're in the Western Conference Finals. I'm just like, hey, we're here at this point.
I mean, with those little expectations that were kind of put on Dallas, it's especially after the Porzingis trade, everyone was like, oh, Dallas is not going to really do as well, even though obviously Porzingis wasn't playing his best ball. But Dallas still continued to win without him. And obviously Dallas fans, like you said, would just been happy to get out of the first round with obviously winning. So, but the fact you guys are already in the Western Conference Finals, that just shows, hey, there's no pressure on you guys.
Yeah, there was a good stat. I'm glad you brought up the Porzingis trade because there's a stat I saw where the Mavs went from, like, statistically the least clutch team in the league. They were 30th in, like, points scored in crunch time to number 1 after the Porzingis trade. Putting Dinwiddie and Bertans, keeping Bertans on the bench and having Dinwiddie in there as like a third guard that can handle the basketball has done wonders for the Mavs, which I think that's a great example of no one knows what they're talking about sometimes when it comes to basketball because everyone, including me and you, we talked about it. I was like, what are we doing? Why are we trading Porzingis? But goes to show, no, I don't think anyone actually knows anything about the game of basketball unless you were in the NBA yourself. But we're just here to make predictions and, occasionally give a take or two.
Yep.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
But moving on to tonight's game, 7:30 on ESPN, Boston and Miami. Heat are a 2.5-point favorite in this one. Big news we saw earlier today, Marcus Smart not going to play in this one. I know we got rumors that turned into reports coming in. Al Horford not going to play today as well. I think that spells a little bit of trouble for Boston. I mean, Kyle Lowry's still not playing for Miami, but that's a situation where I think the Heat have learned how to play without him. I mean, they went nearly the entire Philadelphia series not dealing with it. And so I think that Miami is going to be able to have some fun here today. You take away Boston, arguably their best defender, and even arguably the best defender in the league in Marcus Smart, and you take away Al Horford, who's a great veteran who always is a right place, right time type of guy, can go in, get you whatever you need done, and you're going to turn this into Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum versus the Miami Heat. And I think that is favorable for Miami because you have Jimmy Butler, who's an insane defender when he needs to be. He can lock up Tatum or Brown.
Yep.
It's going to be which one do you want to deal with.
Yeah.
And I think, Max Strus and Tyler Hero are not the biggest defenders in the world. But I think if you can force one of them to be taken away, especially with Horford out, you don't have that reliable third option because Grant Williams isn't going to score 28 that's not going to happen every single time.
No.
I think Miami takes game one, and it wouldn't surprise me, depending on how these injuries go. If these injuries are serious, which I don't know how serious they are, this could be a shorter series than we think.
And obviously, if you're Boston, you got to hope Tatum plays out of his mind, and
you're gonna need 46-point Tatum again,
and someone else can come in and back. I mean, I know Marcus Smart is day to day, so he might play tonight. Who knows?
Yeah, from what I saw, it sounds like no Smart or Horford tonight.
So you gotta hope Miami doesn't show up, and I think they will. I think Miami will take game one.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time in Miami. I'm happy to be with the Eastern Conference Finals. This is always just such a fun time of the year, man. I love this time of the year. We got the finals coming up. We got hockey going on. We got college softball and college baseball getting to their peaks. This is always a fun time to be a sports fan.
Oh, yeah.
There's never a bad month except August. August is the worst month, and July kind of. They run together in the sports world. That's about it. But that's enough of me rambling about calendars. Dallas Golden State, Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, TNT. Golden State a 5-point favorite in this one. That really does not surprise me. Gary Payton II, of course, not going to be here. Steve Kerr will be back on the sidelines for Golden State. He has been cleared of all COVID-related illness. Thank goodness. Good to see him back and healthy again. Otto Porter Jr. will be day-to-day, at least for now. I would think he would play. Yeah. Usually when you see that day-to-day, usually they're going to play. But what I'm excited to see is how does Golden State try to stop Dallas? Because Dallas, I've talked about it a lot, they can beat you multiple ways. Obviously, Luke is going to be your number one guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be the guy. You cannot let him go off like he did it against Utah and Phoenix.
I think the idea is obviously you want to isolate Luka to force shots he doesn't necessarily want to take. Then again, he can pretty much shoot anywhere on the court. But obviously, you got to hope that pretty much everyone else doesn't show up.
Yeah.
If the rest of Dallas's players show up along with Luka playing well, Golden State's going to be in for a rough series. Like I think it'll be competitive, probably high scoring throughout, but Dallas is something else if everyone's on.
Yeah, and I think if you're Golden State, the main key is not Luka. I think the main key is Jalen Brunson. If Jalen Brunson gets going, you are going to be in for a rough time. It is not going to be fun. You're going to have multiple guys go off because if Lucas starts getting off and Brunson gets open, you're going to start thinking about guarding those guys. And when you do that, Dorian Finney-Smith starts to get open. Reggie Bullock starts to get open. Maxi Kleber, when he's out there, gets open. Dwight Powell might even get open, depending on if they want to go 5 out or 4 out, 1 in. It'll be fun. And if you're the Warriors, I mean, what can you say about Golden State? Same Splash Brothers, new core with Andrew Wiggins, Jordan Poole. I mean, Draymond's still there doing his thing defensively. I want to see how Golden State adjusts because they have played, let's just say, poorly the last 3 games. It hasn't really hurt them that much against Memphis, but they've had a lot of turnovers. They've had a lot of weird shots they should have made. I know when we were watching Game 6, we were just kind of wondering, what is this team doing? What are you doing, Golden State?
Yeah.
I mean, they turned it on in the final few minutes. They did what they were supposed to. They turned back into the Warriors. But they got us play that way. You cannot be lackadaisical against Dallas like you were against Memphis in games of 4, 5, and 6.
Yep. You pretty much just – if Golden State keeps that up, Mavs will tear them apart.
Yeah.
If they keep that up through pretty much most of the series, expect this to be a short series in favor of Dallas. I still think overall the matchups favor Dallas. Dallas hasn't made many mistakes. The only mistakes they've had is that it's Luka has shown up every game.
Yeah.
The issue is, can everyone else shoot as well? They don't turn the ball over as much, like, from what I can tell. But Dallas will eat up Golden State if Golden State does not fix their turnover problem. And also, you basically got to hope Curry does not forget how to shoot.
Yeah, I mean, Steph Curry, I think he's got his confidence problem fixed. I think the way that went, to me, the main X factor is going to be Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole. If they get going, it's going to be a fun shootout. If we see everyone going on all cylinders, we might see one of those 120, 125 type of games for either team. And I think that would be a lot of fun. We don't see shootouts like that very often.
No, we don't.
It would remind me of a little bit of, it felt like 5 years ago when you had the Warriors and the Rockets doing that to people. Obviously, the Warriors are a little bit past their prime, but they're still obviously elite. And so I'm excited to see how this one goes.
I feel like from basically just the games prior. I know it'll probably be different when game one starts up, but I'm gonna be ballsy here. I'm gonna pick Mavs taking game one.
Alrighty, I appreciate your confidence in Dallas because I do not have that.
It's mainly because I'm not confident with Golden State, especially with their turnover and their occasional forgetting how to shoot.
Yeah,
and until they fix that, where Klay and Steph are going off, like how we know they can play, then I might change my tune with the series. But I think Dallas will get a surprising upset.
I mean, I hope so. It's the main thing I could say. Man, I hope so. I mean, Dallas has nothing to lose at this point. They are playing with house money. Whatever cliche term you want to use to describe Dallas, that is essentially what is going on at this point. They have nothing to fear. There is nothing to lose. All the pressure's on Golden State to get back to the finals. Absolutely love it. That being said, however, I think Golden State takes game one. I think being at the Chase Center, that entire Bay Area is not a fun place for Dallas. They have always had problems out there, whatever it is. And Dallas has not played a healthy Golden State yet. These two teams have not seen each other in their current iterations, I believe. If I remember correctly, the Mavs played them a few times. We can actually look here at the regular season series when they met. I mean, the Mavs won 3 out of the 4, but I believe every single time either someone for the Warriors was injured, whether it be Klay or Draymond or Steph, or Dallas was in their old setup with Porzingis. So I think it'll be really fun to see that game one. I think Golden State wins it. I'm not sure about winning it by 5. It might be a bit closer than that, but I think Golden State takes game one, but this series will be going to 6 or 7 pretty easily.
More likely.
And then I just wanted to give a quick little look at it. I was looking at this before the show. ESPN's experts did their little list of who's going to win the conference finals, what they think's going to happen. Looking at Miami and Boston, you can see a lot of Celtics, and that is for good reason, I think. Celtics have 16 in their favor, and Miami only has 4 people thinking they will win the series there. Obviously, these Smart and Horford injuries were announced after all these predictions, so that might skew it a little bit. Maybe instead of Celtics in 6, Celtics in 7 for some of those people. And then you look at Warriors-Mavs. Now, remember, Dallas was 0 for 20. No one picked Dallas to beat Phoenix, which, I mean, is understandable. Phoenix at the time was considered the best team in the league. And you see a lot of Warriors in here, which makes sense. But 14-4, people picking Golden State over Dallas. Mavs only with 4 people picking them, 14 picking Golden State. So I am really excited to see how this turns out. But before we move on to the NHL, I do want to say I am happy we've record viewership tonight. We've never had viewership this high on the show. So if you are still watching and you want to see more of this, we do have our own YouTube channel. You can subscribe to it, The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm going to try to get that link pulled up in the chat real quick here if I can find it real quick. I do not know where it went off to. I had it pulled up earlier, but if you could give us a subscription, that would be appreciated as always. Or if you want to just stay here on NWTV7, you can give us a follow here on Twitch or do anything of that sort. But like I said, we always appreciate it. It is always nice to see. I know we'll get our video uploaded pretty quickly. So once again, that is the guys who stare at stats on YouTube, and the link is officially in the Twitch chat. So if you want to click that link, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it. We would both appreciate it. If not, I mean, you don't have to, but I mean, it'll make me a little sad, I guess. But that's about it. You hurt my feelings slightly. I mean, it was my birthday a few days ago. If you want to give me a birthday present, subscribe to our channel. I mean, it's not really a birthday present.
You're asking a little too much.
I'm asking a lot, but you know what? It's because I have faith. That's about it. That's all I'm running on right now.
Sure.
We'll go with that.
We'll go with that.
Getting to the NHL, recapping everything from Thursday onward from our last show. Game 6, it was Carolina going to Boston again. And Boston did what they do in this series, which is they win at home and lose on the road. They beat Carolina 5-2. Moving on, Game 6, Toronto-Tampa Bay. Tampa surviving, getting that OT win over the Maple Leafs 4-3. St. Louis wrapped up their series with a 5-1 win over Minnesota. 4-2 was the score with Edmonton beating the Kings out at the Crypt because it just can't be Staples Center for some reason. Naming rights are hard, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. All those hope you enjoy dealing with the Avalanche.
Yeah, I will not. I will not. As a Blues fan, I will not. Friday games, New York trying to complete the comeback. They got a 5-3 win over the Pens, which evened that series up at 3. Florida defeated Washington 4-3 in overtime to give the Panthers that series.
Yeah, I was not a very happy camper.
Yeah, so we got a Caps fan over here, Connor, not the happiest person. We were watching that game live, and I mean, you were talking about, as a Caps fan, every year this happens, and then they scored, and you were just like, let's go!
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, this might be different. And then we flipped it back on, like, 20 minutes later, it's like, oh, the Panthers won. And it was just like, oop.
Yeah, we saw saw the puck go in, and I lost it.
Yeah, happy late birthday. Thank you. I appreciate it. And then Calgary-Dallas, 3-3 series because of Dallas getting the win over the Flames, 4-2 there. Moving to the Saturday games, Carolina finishing off the series with a 3-2 win over the Bruins. Toronto did it again, folks. 2-1, Tampa Bay survives. The Bolts are still running. Game 7 came for the Maple Leafs again. I feel so bad for those people, especially the ones, that never saw them win a Stanley Cup, which is nearly all of them.
Practically all of them at this point.
Yeah, which is anyone born after 1968. And then the Oilers beating the Kings 2-0. So that was Game 1 of Game 7, or Day 1 of Game 7 madness. There were 5 Game 7s in the NHL, folks, over the span of 2 days. You got to love playoff hockey. Nearly every series going Game 7.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then we got 2 overtimes on Sunday. The Rangers completing the 3-1 comeback, 4-3 in OT, and Calgary beating Dallas 3-2 in overtime. I want to say Ottinger, the goalie for the Stars, absolutely record-breaking performance. I don't know how much of that you were able to see, but he had 60 saves in that game. 63 shots by the Flames, 63 shots on goal, nearly 130 total shots the entire game.
And they worked them really good.
They absolutely
and only got 3 goals out of that.
And only got 3 goals, but that was enough because the Stars just couldn't do anything. And once they just couldn't do anything. I'll just leave it at that. That's probably the best place to put it.
It is the best place to put it. I mean, Calgary overall was a better team.
Yes.
Was better. They were just better than Dallas, but Calgary just sometimes just didn't play well at all. I mean, the games they lost, they didn't play their best, and Dallas took 3 games from them. But Calgary showed up, did what they could to try to score as much as possible, and congrats for Dallas's goalie, but if everyone else just isn't playing good, it really means nothing.
Yep.
But Calgary did what they should have, probably maybe a few games before, ended up taking the series over Dallas. Dallas wasn't even no one would have thought Dallas would have taken it to Game 7.
Yeah,
overall.
I mean, no one really expected the Stars to get here, but they took it to a Game 7. It was a big Game 7 day in Dallas, and they went 1-1. But that's all you can say with that. I mean, they gave the best effort they could, which now leads us into tonight's games. 6 o'clock tonight on TNT. Probably just about to get started any minute now if it hasn't already. Tampa Bay and Florida. Folks, it's the Battle of Florida. It is a wonderful time. We get some great rivalries. Panthers are favored in this one. I am interested to see this. No Braden Point for the Lightning, so you're without your center. That'll be a little bit tough to deal with. There we go. Just started. Wow, so we are right on time with this one. But I think this is going to be a fun series. I'm really interested to see how this works. Last year, it was Tampa Bay taking this series on their way to another Stanley Cup.
Now it's just a matter of do the Panthers get over the hump?
Yeah.
Do they actually vanquish Tampa Bay? Because the way the season is overall, Florida is overall the better team with the way they've been playing. Talent-wise, Tampa is probably more favorable. But this is one where it's like, what do we expect from Florida? It's basically all eyes are on what Florida's going to do.
Yeah.
People, it wouldn't be surprising if Tampa takes the series, but it's a matter of how does Florida handle this? Do they punch Tampa Bay in the mouth, or do they just kind of die?
Yeah, I'm excited to see how the Panthers play because last year we were in this exact same position. Florida was the higher team. People they had expectations for the Panthers, and they did not meet it whatsoever. Now that they've gotten that monkey off their back, they have won a first-round series, albeit it was a challenge, but they won that series. They have, I wouldn't say no expectations because they do have expectations. They're the President's Cup winners. They had the most points in the NHL, but now where do you go from here? They can absolutely make a great push, I think. And it wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Tampa Bay looked really shaky against Toronto, especially away from home.
Yep.
Now, granted, they are back in their home state, but, as we're seeing Tampa Bay already in a power play 30 seconds into the game, so this might be a little bit different. This might be a little bit the same. But I think Florida has an edge here. I think they take Game 1 tonight, and they send a message. This is not like last year. This is a completely different series. We're a completely different team. We're tougher mentally, we're tougher physically, and we're ready to show it.
I think I agree with that take. Florida is not going to be taking any crap from Tampa, and I think especially on a power play, especially how they played against the Capitals in Game 6. Florida was much more aggressive being down a man, which is odd because it's like you think whether equal or more guys, they'd be more aggressive. Instead, it's like they're playing like their lives depend on it when they're down a man. So that's where I think when it comes to the power play, I think Tampa's going to struggle mightily because Florida's just been able to kill penalties really quickly, especially by playing much more aggressive.
Yeah. I half expected you to say the second that happened, the thing to change in a goal up.
That would be funny.
Just the luck of this show, that would have been the funniest thing.
Oh, well, that means
yeah.
Now.
Oh, well. But I think this is going to be a fun series. Like I said, I think Florida takes Game 1, but strap in, folks. If you love hockey, if you just love playoff intensity, this is a series for you.
Yep.
And then moving on to the second game of the night, 8:30 TNT. St. Louis makes the trip to Colorado in a interesting battle. In an interesting battle in the sense of these two met in the first round last year. Colorado swept St. Louis. Jordan Bennington was left out to dry last year as he was pretty much taking on the entire Avalanche team whenever he got on the ice. And so I think St. Louis, they're getting healthier. They're getting some guys back. They're getting their defensemen back, which is great to see. They're able to handle the Minnesota Wild with some AHLers. So I'm excited to see how the Blues defense looks. I think it'll be a little bit better. That being said, I've said all year I think Colorado is the best team. Yes, they struggle in the second round, but I think the Avs being favored tonight, I think game one, they'll get the win. As much as I don't want it to happen, as much as I would love to see the Blues get a win,
I mean,
I think the Avs take game one.
Colorado is much more rested, obviously, because they swept Nashville.
Yeah, coming off that sweep.
So it's like they're going to be in much better shape than the Blues are, but not really a but. It's Colorado's just going to, I think, overall is going to be too much in this first game. I think this first game will probably set the tone of the series. If the Blues are able to fight back, I expect it to probably be a bit more competitive, but if Avs pretty much kill the Blues, I expect this to be a really short series. I just think the Avs are just too good right now, and I easily have them taking game one.
Yeah, I mean, I really want to see the Blues win this series. I don't know how they're going to do it. They're going to need to turn this into a gritty physical series again like they tried to do last year. I think they're a lot better than last year. They're less injured. They're getting things together, but it will be an uphill climb for sure to climb that giant mountain of that Colorado team.
Yep.
And then moving on to Wednesday games, Rangers-Canes. Oh boy, Carolina favored in this one. Raleigh is going to be rocking like it always is. New York pretty much cheated death. They came back from 3-1. They conquered Pittsburgh. Whether you want to blame that on Crosby being out or not for the Pens, you can go right ahead.
I'm sorry.
They're happy to be.
Even with Crosby out, Penguins should not have lost that series. The fact that they did just shows the fact that they relied on one man really just kind of shows how bad everyone else is. And I think with that current, I know this isn't about the Penguins, but Penguins either got to blow it up or they got to somehow get some extra guys to help them out. But Rangers did a great job coming back and winning that series.
You know, the Pens, probably should blow it up, which means they'll be back right here in the first round next year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're not going to do that. But I think Carolina is on a collision course to that Eastern Conference championship. I think the Rangers will put up a fight, but I think they have been living on borrowed time for a long time now.
Carolina is that better team. Carolina is that team that's going to take it to the Rangers, and I'm not sure how the Rangers will know how to respond. Like, Rangers maybe take 2 games in this series. That's obviously it's an early prediction, but yeah. For game one, I think Carolina eats them up. Carolina's just too good at home.
Yeah, I think Carolina is going to play well. They love being at home. They're one of the best teams in the NHL at home. We could see that against Boston as a night and day factor. I think Carolina continues that, and I think they get a pretty not comfortable win, but a pretty solid one to start their series off. And then probably the series I'm looking forward to the most besides the Blues, for the first time in over 30 years, we get the Battle of Alberta. One of the best rivalries in the NHL returns. Edmonton and Calgary. The Fighting Connor McDavids versus the Sea of Red for games 1 and 2 at least.
It's basically Connor McDavid carrying this entire team.
I'm going to tell you right now, I mean, people love their hockey in Canada. I saw tickets going for $5,000 already for this.
For the lowest tickets are $135.
Yeah, $135 with vivid seats. I saw on like StubHub, you had some scalpers trying to sell it for like $5,000 a ticket.
And you have Canadians that will buy it.
Yeah, Canadians will buy it. Alberta may not survive. They barely survived the last time these two met in the 80s. This is going to be a wild series. So buckle up for 8:30 tomorrow on ESPN. Calgary's favored in this one. I think they take game 1, but last time these two played intensely enough, we got a goalie fight. Maybe we'll do that again.
This is gonna be very chippy series because this is how the Canadian teams are.
This is just gonna be violent.
It's like Calgary on paper is overall a better team, but obviously do not be surprised if Edmonton puts up a fight and sends this series to 7. Like, this is going to be probably out of all of the playoff series, this is probably going to be the most intense because it's the Battle of Alberta.
It's one of the biggest rivalries. It's going to be.
Yep. So I think Calgary does take game 1, but I'm going to probably say it's going to be an overtime victory. I expect most of these games to go to overtime.
Yeah, I expect a lot of these to be knockdown, drag-out fights, a lot of hits, a lot of bruises, a lot of oh my's,
Probably expect a couple goalie fights.
maybe some WWE moves. I don't know. There might be some wrestling involved in this one. There might be some Canadians being slightly less friendly to each other. I don't know. What I can tell you is we thank you for once again joining us on The Guys Who Stare at Stats. It has been a wonderful time, as always, with all of you. If you liked what you heard, be sure to give us a follow here on Twitch, subscribe to our YouTube channel, whether that be NWTV7 or The Guys Who Stare at Stats. Once again, that link is in the chat right now. If you want to click that link right there, that'll take you directly to The Guys Who Stare at Stats YouTube channel. You could subscribe to that there. We would appreciate it. If you want to know when we go live, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We even have a TikTok now. You can follow us there. We even have a Spotify where we'll slowly try to convert shows over to that. Coming someday. I honestly don't know when. We're going to have to talk to people about that one, but we'll try to do that as quick as we can. But for Connor Gray, I'm Cade Kennedy. We thank you for tuning in, and enjoy your draft lottery. Enjoy your playoffs, no matter what sport. And until Thursday, have a great one, everybody.